Yes, this people, and welcome back to another video on the Bridge YouTube channel where we bring you all things Chelsea. I'm your host with the most origination here today to give you Chelsea transfer news, Chelsea breaking news, actually, indeed. And listen, there's really one place to start before we even discuss transfer, and that is in regards to, of course, an ongoing case. Before we do that, please make sure, as you're coming in, to like, share, subscribe. Helps me out and helps the channel at the end of the day. I am almost at 2.9k. Really helpful for you guys. Really helpful if you guys can really just get me to the end goal of 2.9k, if I'm not mistaken. Or is that what I'm at? So 2.9k really helped me out. I'm already like less than 6 away from getting to 2.9k. So it'd be really helpful if you guys could get me there as well. But listen, lots to talk about today in terms of transfer news. That's why I always like to sometimes, whenever I don't do a daily stream, sorry, excuse me, I usually like to wait a day or two, maybe 3 or 4 sometimes, jumble the news together so we can have a bit more of a much more better discussion. Otherwise, talking about a little bits here and there, I don't find it to be as fruitful, to be honest, as well. And at the end of the day, there's much more to discuss as of right now. So let's actually get into what I want to talk about first, which is really the main breaking news, in my personal opinion, which is irregardless of transfers, and that is really in regards to Mikhailo Mudryk. Now, big up to Matt Law, because he was the first, obviously, to initially report what had happened here. Actually, I like the sports section, but isn't it? Yes, this is much better. Right, and this is, let me just read it for you guys, of course. Official, Mikhailo Mudryk charged by the FA for anti-doping violations and could face up to a 4-year ban. We can confirm that Mikhailo Mudryk has been charged with anti-doping rule violations alleging the presence and or use of prohibited substance in terms of regulations 3 and 4 of the FA's anti-doping regulations. As this is an ongoing case, we are not in a position to comment further at this time. Now, other thing that we should talk about is Matt Law. Let me just bring up Matt Law while I am here. Give me a moment, boys, while I bring up Matt Law. There we go. Right, and this is what Matt Law says. Chelsea winger Mikhailo Mudryk charged by FA with anti-doping violations. Mudryk has not commented, but it is understood his position has not changed from the statement he made in December, which is included in this article. And as you know, Mudryk has said that he's vehemently denied taking this thing. I think they've been trying to go via the argument that obviously contamination may have taken place. But essentially, this is yet another, I think, big blow in the case of Mikhailo Mudryk, essentially. And again, obviously we knew, I think it was UEFA that had initially done the charge against him, right? We'd been waiting for over 9 months now. So I think it's around about now, 9 months now, almost, for the B sample to be released. And again, the B sample has still not been released. This is, I think, another thing that people need to realize here. We're still waiting over 9 months now and counting for a B sample. We know the A sample is what has caused a lot of this stuff to take place, but the B sample has still not been revealed yet, at least to my knowledge. The FA has now finally charged him, but again, does that mean that the B sample has been, revealed to contain whatever has been alleged that he's been doping with? We don't know, but and plus it'd be wrong of me to speculate as well. But again, right now, all we know again is that he's been charged now by both UEFA and the FA. And again, I think where we are allowed to speculate now is where this is heading. Right now, again, one of the things that I did read about, and I should basically be able to find somewhere, but I know when I did my previous streams when Mudryk was initially charged, was that was of the following: that he actually has the same law firm that helped out Paul Pogba in regards to getting his charge of like 4 years, because they gave him a 4-year probation essentially to not be they gave him a 4-year charge, like you're not going to be able to play football for. The law firm that Pogba then had was able to, via the appeal, get it down to 18 months, right? That's why now you're seeing that he's able to now he's getting a deal done to play for Monaco and he's able to play again. The problem with Mudryk's situation, is that, again, we don't know what the facts are. Nothing's been really told to us. Obviously, the main thing in regards to that is that they can keep stuff private as well in regards to the Mudryk case as well. It's something that I think a lot of people also don't speak about quite often. Like, this can be done in private. We can never know what the B sample is at all. But as I said before, in regards to his future now, you have to look at him in a couple of ways. Pogba obviously Pogba and Juventus were able to come to terms to a mutual termination where either side didn't have to pay the other. And that's just based on his contract, right? So then the question becomes, does Chelsea have something like that where Chelsea can be able to agree something with Mudryk where the mutual termination where either side can leave the other, right? That's one thing we need to think about. The second thing is, does Chelsea maybe have something in this contract? Because you know the way this club works, the amount of stuff they do in terms of length of contract, the way they find loopholes and stuff like that, you would assume there has to be something as well in Mudryk's contract, right, that can allow them to essentially bail out of that deal. We don't know about that too, right? That may or may not exist. This is where I said I'm going to be speculating a little bit here. The second thing you need to think about now is also transfers, right? Now, in terms of the transfer value, we know we bought it for 62 million plus add-ons, right? Now, the add-ons, I think, logically will not be the add-ons. Essentially, in my personal opinion, are not even going to exist anymore because, again, he probably is never going to play for the club again. So any add-ons that Shakhtar Donetsk was expecting, then I think he's GG's for that. So I think we can exclude any add-on payment essentially in that regard. Because now, I think all he got left now is the 62 million that you've got over there. I think he's got a 7 to 8 year deal that's going to be left. So, so for me personally, again, I'm just looking at that. I'm thinking, what's going to happen there? But again, I think the problem right now with Mudryk, there's so much lack of clarity about what his future is going to be, how these charges are going. We still don't know how the UEFA situation is going on as well with him, with the B sample and everything included in that situation as well. So again, I just look at a lot of this stuff and I'm thinking there's a lot going on there with Mudryk that it's just still uncertain, that we can't really guarantee what's going to happen or not. The one thing we can say is that if he does get like a ban, of however length it is, I think his time in the club is pretty much, I can say, guaranteed. Finite and Cantatin. So that's what I can definitely say for sure. But that's pretty much all I want to talk about in terms of Mudryk. I thought I'd start with him because he's definitely not transfer related, but he is related again to our squad, to probably what transfers we do now going forward, etc., etc., etc. So that's what I wanted to start with. But let's actually get into some transfer news, right? Obviously, let's start with the main news. I know Sean definitely is not too happy about this one, which is Joao Pedro, because he's the main guy that we're going to be speaking about. Of course, let's start with Joao Pedro, because that was a big breaking news that came out today. And there we go. So here we are. Chelsea and Newcastle will make proposals for Joao Pedro. And then continuing on, initial contacts have taken place for Joao Pedro. Chelsea have him on their list. So that is pretty much the stuff that's happening right now with Joao Pedro. He's essentially seen as a this is from Fabrizio. Joao Pedro is very highly rated by Chelsea. Big potential, knows the league and covers multiple positions. CSC believe he could be a perfect addition to the squad, but there's no negotiation so far. Newcastle are already working club to club for him. So again, Newcastle already ahead of us in the race for Joao Pedro. They're already speaking of Brighton in terms of deals making stuff happen, right? So clearly Newcastle are way ahead of us, but the fact they initially inquired for him in terms of club to club and stuff like that, it's going to be kind of interesting to see where that goes. But I think there's a little bit more I want to add because I think there's a Davy Simmons aspect that needs to be discussed in regards to this as well. Let me just bring up that part of the section as well. Chelsea are considering Joao Pedro and having a look at Javi Simmons, but have been put off by Ekitike's price tag. So for me, clearly, Joao Pedro, at least in my eyes, he seems to be what I like to call an alternative to Ekitike right now. Him and Javi Simmons. Now, in regards to Joao Pedro himself, the player, when I want him at the club, I'm very, in my personal opinion, in the middle. In the middle, or in regards to him, in terms of what I think he can do for the club. I'm not necessarily sure on the player. I think for me, in terms of what he can do and what he can produce, I'm not very highly rated of the player. But again, as I said before, my feelings are not really a part of this when it comes to Chelsea transfers because at the end of the day, we have to look at what is the club seeing, what is the club valuing, and what is the club looking like in terms of what they want and what they want, and what they see in him, right, and what they think he can add value in terms of that. So let me actually go to FP really quickly and let's look at maybe some of his statistics and some of the stuff that he's able to do that maybe is giving them an indication on with regards to the stuff that they would like from Joao Pedro. Bear with me for a moment while I bring up FP. Give me a moment, boys. Just about that. Let's let me type in his name. Goao Pedro, Brazilian Brighton Hove Albion. There we land. Let me just bring it up real quick for us. Bang. And share this instead. Obviously, Joao Pedro. Let me see. Make it a little bit bigger for us. Joao Pedro, obviously, he is 23 years old. Can play. He's a forward. Can also play in the midfield. This last season, this is his stats for last season: 10 goals, 6 assists. One thing that maybe some people might want to obviously understand is that again, he does score a good amount of penalties for Brighton. He's their main pen taker, of course, and he was playing for the vast majority of the season as the striker, and then behind him, if I'm not mistaken, was Jorginho Ruta, who was the guy they brought from Leeds, who used to play in the 10 role for them. Now, again, if you look at it from a statistical standpoint, 0.28 goal assists per 90, which is and he's in the 88th percentile for. Expected assists is in the 96th percentile for. Shot creating actions, again, this is something that we need to be looking at again. I think one of the things that we always talk about is that can these guys create their own shot? Are they able to produce moments of themselves, taking shots and stuff like that? And I think for me, he's very high there. He's in the 90th percentile in the league. So again, this is where again I always talk about the club is clearly looking at their guys. Progressive passes is in the 96th percentile, right? In the 96th percentile, right? So that's something to look at. Progressive carries is in the 97th percentile. Successful take-ons in the 90th percentile. See, that's why I always tell you guys, yeah? All three of them, right? If you look at those in particular, all three of those statistics that I'm looking at, again, that's the sort of player they're looking for, right? Again, in Maresca's system, the main thing we talk about, you've got to be direct. You got to be able to get past your man. You got to be able to drive, right? You got to be able to make those passes. So again, if you just look at him in just those three aspects, that's probably the main three they're looking at in particular with him, right? Passes, carries, and take-ons, right? He has got all those three in the bag in terms of percentile-wise, in terms of what he's doing. And that's probably why they're looking at him as a major alternative, right? Because if you can do all those things, you can do that as a striker for you, do that as a 10 for you, do that on the wing. So again, that is the sort of thing that they're looking for at the end of the day, right? So that's one thing I will say that is very successful in regards to him. The person who's waiting in the background, your mic and camera are not connected. So can you please connect that, please? Because I can't add you. Thank you. But yeah, but that's pretty much, I think, in terms of like the Joao Pedro aspect of stuff. That's what I'm looking at the end of the day. I think another thing that's interesting is that he's got a good sense of like awareness there as well, right? And in terms of 0.42 interceptions per 90 as well, he's in the 95th percentile for that. But that is what they're looking for again in a Joao Pedro at the end of the day. You know, again, we may not like the player. I may not like the player. I may not think that he's good enough at the end of the day, guys. But again, I don't take my feelings of players anymore into this anymore. I just look at the statistics because that's what they're looking at, the data, and seeing, and does he work in the system? Is the data that he's showing going to be hopefully translatable into the team? That's what the club is looking at. So that's what I look at now at the end of the day. But let's read some more of your comments, bro, before I continue on. Much rather rather get Eze. I think the thing with Eze again is that I actually don't think he suits us as much as what's it called? People like to believe, in my personal opinion. He didn't add. He's not great on the wing, in my personal opinion, which is probably what you want from someone there. In the 10, he can probably do a lot of stuff for us, which is probably what I would like from Eze. But at the end of the day, I don't think that's what we're going to be getting with our guy like Eberici Eze. Yeah, Kudus and Fofana, man. Under 10 million for both. So Mudryk 55 million. Kudus right wing, Fofana left wing. I'm going to get to Kudus because I have a hot take on Kudus, in my personal opinion. Because I'm going to speak of Kudus from my point of view. I don't really see the point of bringing in Kudus if we sell Mudryk. I don't really see the point of those two. So there's no point in that, in my personal opinion. But we'll discuss that a little bit later. HA, Pedro and Kudus is an upgrade to Jackson and Noni. Wow. So HA is definitely a big fan of Joao Pedro. Very surprised by that, bro. Big up Ahmed. Trusting the process is like trusting conman with your finances. Stephen, the problem is for me, Stephen, I've said before, in my personal opinion, I've come to the conclusion, the point of me getting angry or stuff like that, getting angry, maybe being, getting disappointed, getting annoyed by transfer news, because again, I don't know what's going to happen. So I don't know if these guys can come in or not. A, B, any player they bring in, doesn't matter how I feel about it, because they're going to be in the club. So for me, I don't really care anymore. My opinions don't really matter anymore. The only opinion that matters for me is, does he work in the system that Mudryk is trying to provide? What are they looking at as underlying numbers or underlying stats that is meaning that he's going to work in the team? Right? I cannot watch Joao Pedro. I personally would not be one of the guys I'll be looking at Joao Pedro, in my personal opinion. But at the same time, the club is looking at him, so therefore I can't do anything about it. So that's it. And I think also the thing about Joao Pedro's situation right now is that you have to also look at it from this perspective. It's maybe agent talk too. Maybe the agent doesn't want to maybe take him to Newcastle. Chelsea have kind of started inquiring about the player, maybe feeling a little bit interested on him, and just maybe what's happening here is a case of maybe Chelsea have inquired, and maybe it's we're getting a bit of a boost now. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to boost it. Oh look, Chelsea coming in for him. You know what I mean, and stuff like that. So that might also be another aspect to it too. So again, the player may not want Newcastle and stuff like that, and maybe he's hoping that a Chelsea or someone else, an alternative club, is coming in for him, and maybe they're trying to boost that to try to maybe get the other club, Chelsea, to be serious about the opportunity to go and get him too. So that's the thing. So that's the thing you need to think about too, right? I'm not really getting There's no point of getting angry about transfers too, in my personal opinion too. Be it to our boy EE, be it to he's more of a 10. We need a winger. I think the way I'm looking at stuff now, EE, I don't know about you, my brother, is that it's quite simply whoever Jamie Gittens or Malik Fofana, whoever it may be that comes in, is your winger, and then they're trying to find a guy that can play the 10 and that can do a job, essentially. Do a job on the wing. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's a winger, but can do a job on the wing. That's the way I think they're looking at a lot of this stuff that's happening as of right now. All right? What? Kudus is way better than Mudryk. Listen, I hear that CA Mafia, but the problem for me is that he's a left-footed right winger. I rest my case. There's no point of again, and Kudus statistically was not do better than Mudryk last season. But again, the thing about him is that he's a right winger 10. I think we need probably an LW 10. That's what we need to be looking at, right? Left winger 10, in my personal opinion, right? If that's the position you want. Can Kudus play the left wing? Yes, but can he play it quite well? I don't really think so. So that's the problem that you have right now. How's it going, Ahmed? I think the links with Joao Pedro are real. possibly as a Nico replacement and can cover for left wing and can. Not a fan of the player, but it doesn't matter what we think, Lo. Thank you very much, Lucas. That's the way I think about it. Are you? I'm going to ask you a question, Lucas, though. Do you think it's a replacement for Jackson, or do you think, because I'm interested, because if you think of it like that, is he better than Jackson, though? Right? Because obviously, yes, he's got 10 goals, 6 assists. They basically got the same numbers. I think they're similar ages as well. I'm not sure that he's much of a different, right? Because I feel like if you're going to add Joao Pedro to swap Jackson, I'm not sure that's the right method of going for stuff, in my personal opinion. But that's just me. During the show today, we've got a special guest during the show. He lives only two rooms next to me. He's the man. He's the myth. He's the guy that always shouts on our watch-alongs, you know, woo! When someone scores a goal before I could even watch it. And that is Mr. Zubair Abdi. Hello, Zubair. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good.
All right, Zubair. So listen, tell me your thoughts on Joao Pedro. Do you think he's a good player? Would you like him to come to Chelsea? Tell me your thoughts and feelings, bro.
I think he'd be very good for Chelsea. He's the kind of the player that he can play across the front four, he can do palm cover, left wing shifts, and he can possibly striker and direction on both outs as well. And he's like, he can't like take plays, half space, he's very good, and very technical. He can shoot as well. So that way he's very direct as well. If you put him on the left wing, he'll probably get you good amount of GA as well. And it'd be a huge upgrade on what we have currently.
Can I ask you a question though? Like, you know, you said a lot of good things though. Do you think he can be a better replacement for Jackson though?
100%.
Wow. And why do you think that? Why do you think that? Why do you think that? I want to hear your point.
But you don't want to see Jackson. What do you mean Jackson replacement and Jackson's replacement as a striker?
Yeah, because listen again. If you're reading the reports, it seems to me that Joao Pedro is probably going to be the Ekitike replacement, right? Because I think that Ekitike's price is too high. So they're looking at Joao Pedro. They're probably looking at Javi Simmons as well, right? So so in my personal opinion, how do you think he works? Like, do you think because for me, I'd just if I'm just bringing Joao Pedro, I don't see the point of bringing Joao Pedro because if I'm replacing him for Nicolas Jackson, I don't really think that's much of a difference.
You can say that, but you put him on left winger. When they were saying when they were going for the TK,
but yeah, but like again, you know, the problem I would have with that is that people have always said that Jackson can shift on the left wing too, right? He can do a job on there too.
Yeah, but Mudryk doesn't see him as the left winger. That's not going to happen. And the thing is, if you saw the Matt Law thing, I think it was Bob Vincent that came out that said Delap and Jackson are going to fight for the striker, and TK is going to be like some guy who can play across the front three. That's what they said, which means that they're looking for someone who can play left wing as well, striker. Which means Joao Pedro will probably start more games as a left winger than he'll probably be as a replacement for Jackson.
But then what? So where does Gittens add to this? Where does Malik Fofana add to this then? Come on, I want to hear your logic.
Well, Gittens is 20. Malik Fofana is 20 again. That was very raw. This like the first proper season. So what do you mean? They just be pick up that we were in Champions League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Premier League. We're like how many tournaments? So you need the backup. But currently, there's no one left wing. We're playing Mudryk left wing, which is atrocious.
I get that, but I just think for me, I don't see I don't really see Joao Pedro as a left winger. I'll be honest, boys. I don't know about you, chat. I don't know if you disagree with me or not. I want to hear your thoughts too, but I just don't see him working as a left winger, Joao Pedro, man. I think he's more of a 10.
You see how Brighton play left wing?
Yeah, but I don't think he's as effective as he is as a striker or as a 10. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you want to bring in someone like this, bro, you need to get a guy that's effective, bro. That's the one thing I always talk about,
you can always do Joao Pedro at 10, palm right wing, left wing, Gittens off the final whoever comes.
The thing is, yeah, I'm gonna kind of like wait on this point because I want to bring in the Kudus equation into this. Because the Kudus equation, I think, is also going to be kind of interesting to see where things are going and where stuff is happening. So I'm gonna kind of wait and see what happens in regards to that as well. But I just think for me, Joao Pedro, if you're bringing him in, he's got to be the 10 and striker cover, and he can do a job on the left wing. That's the best way I can say he can do a job. But
the Kudus thing for me, doesn't.
The thing is, those. One second, I'm gonna read the comments. Here. CA Mafia. The problem, I agree with you somewhat on this, yeah. But like, the problem I always have here is that obviously the right wing options are obviously trash. That obviously, hopefully, he's going to improve again next season. Madueke obviously has been had a average season, probably at best, I think to probably say, right? But the problem for me is that the left wing options, if you bring in a Gittens, I'm not sure Fofana and Gittens and Gittens, maybe a Malik Fofana, and plus a Joao Pedro is going to solve that equation either. CMF. Do you get what I mean? I don't think that solves the equation. Even if you bring in Kudus, then you have you can play the left wing situation, then you have someone else like that. I just think, bro, you're not solving situations. We're not solving the equation properly there. So I don't know. I just think, for me, talk about myself, I'm not sure how this all works out. But again, that's just me. I'm not gonna lie, I'm going off Kudus. I wanted him last summer. We got only Felix instead. Now club covered up their mistakes. Fair enough. Oh, sorry. Fair enough. One second, I just literally had a hiccup. Lovely. That is a good point, CMF. He's a better ball carrier, and I think he's a better dribbler. That's one thing I will give you, CMF, because we need someone that's definitely a much better dribbler, of course, right? We need someone that can dribble a bit more in terms of like the Mudryk system. So that I definitely agree with. You will not hear me obviously criticize that point at the end of the day, so which I think is a lot more valid. Give me a moment. Let me read. Let's look at the other news that I wanted to bring up quickly, which is listen, Javi Simmons, right? Javi Simmons is the big one that I know we all want to discuss and look at, but let's look at his stats as well. Look to our boy I hope you doing well, man. Bang, and then bang. Javi Simmons, right? So obviously he is 22 years old, 10 goals, 6 assists. So he's basically got the same numbers as Joao Pedro last season as well. Let's look at it from a statistical standpoint. Non-pen goals is 0.36. Again, I think one thing to also consider in this one is that, of course, they've had a bad season, by the way, right? What's it called? RB Leipzig. So again, his numbers pretty much show that, but I think it's about also the underlying numbers, right, that we need to be looking at as well. So again, you look at him, non-pen goals in the 78th percentile. Assist is in expected assists, he's in the 75th percentile for a large shot create action thing as well. If you look at it, right, the 86th percentile in terms of that, right? You look at his passes attempted, very high. Again, that's expected for someone that is a natural 10 at the end of the day as well, right? Progressive passes in the 86th percentile as well. So I look at that. It's got a very high aerials one, you know what I mean, which is very surprising for a guy of his stature, in my personal opinion as well. Clearances, obviously, are just to be expected again. But again, this is, again, one thing to consider about the fact that this was, of course, during his period of which he was playing a poor RB Leipzig side this season. So let's read this. I think we're going to play 2 10s with Kukure holding the width. I'm yet to see that CSC Steven, but obviously good idea, good theory. I would probably say to you, but I think for me right now, I'm on the the case of I need to see it to believe it, because I think right now in terms of Chelsea, we have no idea what's going on. We don't know what our current school of thoughts are, our current plans are at the end of the day. So I think for me, until we see stuff happen, I'm gonna hold on to it. The only Brighton winger I would want be Matoma, but he's too old for the SDs. Fair enough. I actually think the other thing we need to win is Joao Pedro, by the way, yeah. Joao Pedro, Newcastle already ahead of us, right, for Joao Pedro. They're talking to Brighton already. They're trying to agree a fee. They're trying to make stuff happen in regards to that. So I think in terms of Joao Pedro, he may not be a guy that we're able to get unless we truly believe we can get him and really want him. I think as of right now, I don't think Joao Pedro is in the picture as much as I think a lot of people may believe, because again, if you read reports, Newcastle already ahead of you. Newcastle's doing club-to-club talks between Bayern and themselves. So unless you're serious about the player and really want him, I don't think we're gonna get Joao Pedro. By the way, that's one thing I will say right now. So again, that's one thing to talk about as well. We need 2 left fingers and 1 CF AM. I think I agree with you. That's why I think for me, whoever the CF just the AM is, we're gonna find out. I think it's probably between I think it's going to be Javi Simmons or Kudus. One of those sort of guys is probably going to come in. Alex Skander, in my personal opinion. And then I think in terms of the wingers, it may be a Gittens and Malik Fofana, or it may just be just a Gittens by himself. We're going to discuss Gittens because the club is still negotiating for Gittens as we speak. So there we go. All right, Zubair. Let me just make you up here. There we go. Oh my God, this guy's actually a fanboy. I wouldn't mind Osimhen, Ekitike, Delap as strikers. Fair enough, but again, I think the Osimhen dream is a pipe dream, sadly to say. Big up to my boy Mazza though. Similarly, like we did against Leicester away and Ipswich. Fair enough. Kukurea holding the whip, behave. Behave. Oh my God. You want a starter winger that can play 10 of the matchups and not a 10 that can kind of play winger. I agree with you, CA Mafia, but if you look at the options, Kudus plays as a 10, but can predominantly play on the right wing as well, right? That's what I'm saying. That's the issue of Kudus for me. 10 and right wing. Left wing can play, but he's really vast majority of it is 10 and right wing. So for me, Kudus, at least, I don't know why we're targeting him, unless you are saying Madueke out, Kudus in. I'm not really seeing the point of Kudus coming into the club. I'll be honest with you, right? Because then then the other question you got to ask yourself here with Kudus, because this is a good thing. I want to talk about Javi Simmons, but I'm going to turn to Kudus right now. The thing about Kudus, I want to hear everyone's opinion in the chat here. I think he's definitely going to be, is he an upgrade on Jackson? Somewhat of an upgrade on Jackson, in my personal opinion, right? But, and the key word I'm going to say but, right, yeah? What are we expecting from him next season, right? Are we expecting 15 GA, 20 GA, right? Because that's what we need to be looking at as well, right? I don't know. I would like to think if you're bringing in Kudus, he has to be producing double that. And I don't know if he can do that necessarily, right? That's the one thing I would probably say to you guys. However, Pedro's goals 10 are penalties, just like 5. Yes, exactly. That's why that's why TKL, at least from my POV, Ahmed Abdi's POV, I've made the case that I just do not feel that comfortable with him as my player. So that's all. We don't need Pedro, bring Fofana and Kudus, and we Gucci. I think you probably need one more player, including that as well. Probably you probably need one more player as well. That's right. We can play 10. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what confuses me about Kudus, by the way, because like you got Estevan that's going to be in the team this season. You can do RW10. If you're bringing Kudus, he's another RW10. So how are you making stuff work? You should, again, this is where I sometimes do question the squad building aspect of the team, because it's like, again, these guys can happen or not happen, but if you are targeting some of these guys, I think the question I always ask is, how are you going to fit in the team? So again, I always say, food for thought, chat. Food for thought. And you know what's food for thought? 6 away from 2.9k. Can we get there, please? Can I get 60 of you to subscribe to get me to 2.9k, please? Thank you very much. Does have muscle on his frame, and he's the same height as Neymar now. Oh, fair enough, Storm. Thank you for that. Kudus can play 10, right wing and not left wing though. That's what I'm saying. Thank you, Ian. I know it's a dream. I think some of the options are just a meh, unless you're willing to break the bank for the right guy. Fair enough. I think the problem is right now, and this is a hot take that I've said before. I know obviously when you see me on streams, I always say the guys that probably know the most about Chelsea is probably the athletic guys, right? And the athletic guys are obviously Simon Johnson, obviously Liam Toomey, and David Orsi to the extent. So for me, whenever we talk about transfers and Chelsea stuff, I really look at those 3 guys, because they're not even tier 1, they're tier 0 in my personal opinion. Because again, Johnson has got strong links to the club. Ornstein himself has that. Liam Toomey has that too. So those guys are always usually able to, in my personal opinion, get the stuff right in regards to Chelsea Football Club. So that's one thing I will always, in my personal opinion, say in regards to that. So that's why, whenever I talk about the transfers, I'm not, until I can really hear it from them, I don't really mention anything at all in my personal opinion. Kudus and Palmer interchange as a right wing cam. Neto Gittens on for Fofana left wing. All right, fair enough, Iron. All right, fair enough. That's going to maybe get me 2 wingers and keep Pies as a backup 10. Use the cam money on CB and GK. I think the CB money is separate. I don't think I think they've already got money allocated just to get in a CB. CA Mafia probably say so. I don't think there's anything that much to worry about in that regard. I'll be honest with you, bro. Maybe that's the thought process, though. Fair enough. Again, I think with me, IN, we have to see it to believe it. I think with Chelsea, I need to see them do their business and see how the business goes before I start making theories, predictions, and stuff like that right now. Again, we've not got anyone in yet. So the first transfer window right now, we're about to enter Thursday morning, obviously in the UK here. So we've got to see what happens in that regard. So Neto left wing, which is okay, but all season I don't know. Yeah, I agree. In it as well, literally everyone could as Davy Simmons, Morgan, Rogers, Gittens for fun to get the wild. Just getting Rodrigo or Simon Kudus money on Branthwaite. That is a serious club. Fair enough, MZ. I think we need to focus on the cover for yes, and apparently we are focusing on that. If rumors is to believe, we're looking at what's it called? What's his name? Is it Daryl Hatter? Yes, we're looking at Daryl Hatter for that position. So at the end of the day, that is someone we're targeting, someone we're looking at. So we got to see what happens there, in my personal opinion. But again, I'm not really sure. But we move. But listen, let's actually talk about Mohamed Kudus because that was reported from the Guardian, and that's Jacob Steinberg. I don't know why they keep on doing Guardian Sport for Jacob Steinberg because, like, I'm not really understanding that, but we move. But here it is. Bada boom, bada bang. Chelsea have held further talks with West Ham over Kudus. West Ham want straight cash, according to Guardian Sport. So, but like again, this is look how many left footers can or one team have. That's what I'm saying, bro. We need some right footers in the team. We need some right footers in the team, bro. Because unless you're ambidextrous, I don't want you, bro. So for me, I don't really understand why we're going for Mo Kudus, bro. Unless you're getting one left foot out for another left footer, then I don't really see the point of him. But we move. Again, we're gonna have to see what happens in that regard.
When you have too many left wings, that is already the right wing is stacked. Stacked.
Yes. Exactly, bro. That's what I'm saying to you, man. What are your thoughts on Kudus, bro?
I think just too much. We don't need Kudus at the moment. Unless you're also letting go of Mudryk and he's leaving. Getting Kudus in is too much. Estaval is coming this season. Quenda is coming next season. There's no point in signing Kudus because you're going to be hindering the progress of other people. And so you're better off just getting our right foot left winger. You can play 10 maybe if you want to, but left winger mostly. You don't need another right winger.
Big up to my boy Sneaky Obama. He says, "See, Noni could be sold for Kudus upgrade, in my opinion." I think that's probably what you want to happen, right? But again, I always ask, what is the current market for Mudryk himself, right? Joao Pedro's leaving.
Newcastle got something. Newcastle got something for us.
All right, but Joao Pedro is probably going to go to Newcastle, not Chelsea, by the way, in my personal opinion. And if that happens, then the Newcastle situation is blocked. Do you wait? Is the Callum Hudson-Odoi, I know, is potentially maybe going to Napoli, right? Does he maybe go to Nottingham Forest after staying at Chelsea? I don't really see that happening. So again, I always come back to what. Oh, sorry, I'll just be myself. I always go back to what is the current market right now for a Noni Madueke. Food for thought. We need to decide for fun, and these other guys are not it. Fair enough. MZ says, sell Madueke, getting Kudus, then we will perhaps have Estaval and Kudus right wing, Cam Palmer and Kudus, Neto and most likely Gittens left wing. The thing is, though, Neto is predominantly a right winger.
He's no good left winger. He's very bad.
That's the thing. So, like, again, this is where, again, the question does also then becomes in, right? Yeah, Quenda's coming in next season, right? The season after this one, right? And all this other stuff. So, there's a lot of questions there that I'm not sure, again, answered correctly. Quenda is next year a problem. Yeah, but again, we also need to listen. You can't just get people in for 1 year and then move them on for the next year, bro. That's not also like an ideal situation to have as well. Isn't that right, Zuba?
Yeah, 100%. Because if Quenda's coming in next season and you buy Kudus now and there's no room for him, then what's the whole point? And he's going to go to Strasbourg maybe, and he might do good in Strasbourg, and the other clubs might bid the amount we paid for him already, and it's just like quick profit, and he's gone already without even playing for Chelsea. So you just need to forward thinking. This is what is happening.
The thing is, Sneaker Obama, I actually thought about this. I actually was thinking about this. Yeah, I think the club here would sell Madueke for something like 50 million, right? 50 million, because they bought it for 30 million, so they probably want him for something like 50 million pounds to be brought. So for me, if that is the case, right, and you want to buy him for 50 million, right? Want to get him for 50 million, then you have to look at who those clubs are as well. That's a good point, TKL. Good point, TKL. Madueke has 2 replacements already, Estaval and Neto. What's the use of replacing him when we already spent 100 million on the right winger? Good point. Don Duran is apparently going to leave on loan. I think the club won't get him again. The main issue with John Duran, again, the club will probably say this as well, would be, guess what? Attitude issues. And so that's why they will never do that. If Gittens is 60 million euros, Mudryk is minimum 70 million. That's what I'm saying. So I agree with that. I want both Gittens and Fafana just Nusa, some Mudryk bring Kudus. The thing is, though, listen, if you're bringing Kudus, you've got 3 right wingers right now. 4 right wingers if you add Palmer, if you want to add him into that spot too. Again, this is why. This is I think Joao Pedro is not going to come back throughout because from what it seems from reports from Fabrizio, it seems that Newcastle are already way ahead of us. So there's no way we get Joao Pedro.
Well, apparently, according to some Brazil sources, he's preparing the London.
I think that's agent talk. I think that's agent talk. Anything from Brazil, I would probably say is agent talk, by the way, boys. So that's why I always say take that a pinch of salt. Ahmed, if you've been watching, is it?
Yeah, he's been cooking right wing. He's got.
So you've got another right winger basically.
Yeah.
Damn. If you don't get Kudus because you want a left winger, then let's get Rodrigo Leao. Fair enough. Kudus is only getting time if you sell Madueke. I agree with that, Vastarot, I think. I mean, Esteval wants to play Can. Gittens and puppies are the way for the kids we have. Fair enough, the Taraj. So you probably play both right wing and Can. Listen, we'll see what happens at the end of the day. But Zuma, what are your thoughts right now?
I think we need to sign Manyan. We need to go back to and get Manyan number 1. We need to sign centre back. We need to sign left back cover. Kukurea is by himself. The Indian Club World Cup will finish. We need to get, I would say, 10 cover. And either 2 left wingers or 1 starting left winger. And that's it, really.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Simon Mokbal said it's not over.
What's Simon Mokbal? What did he say?
He said he was on Goldberg's playback, and he said the deal for Manyan is not over. So there's a chance we go back and get Mr. Magic Mike.
Anything else you heard from that, like that? I'm not aware of.
I didn't tune in. That's the only thing. That's all.
Yeah. Again, I think for me right now with Chelsea, I only take the Athletic as you know what I mean. I just think for me when it comes to it, I'm just gonna wait and see what the Athletic says. That's why I'm gonna wait for stuff now. There's no point in me looking at any other source. I'm just gonna report the sources, discuss. I'm just gonna wait for other sources to say something. Champions League with a team this team is a sin. Fair enough. I think that's why we need 2 left-footed ballers, not the one-dimensional attacker for Farners and me is ambidextrous. Or we should get Yildiz who can play both sides or turn. I agree with that one, to be honest. But again, we have to wait and see what the club does. I'm not gonna get my opinion. What is Garnacho stuff that's coming? I've been seeing Garnacho today. Do you know anything about this, Zubair or Jack?
No.
Can someone like enlighten me about Garnacho? Because I've been seeing a lot of Garnacho news. Again, I listen. This is going to be sound as a hot take. Can you just mute yourself, Zubair, for a minute, please? It's going to sound like a hot take, but like this. Just mute yourself for a minute. I'm just talking because I can hear you from the other room. That's why. I'm just going to mute myself then. All right. Listen, the thing that I was going to say about Garnacho, I said this before, from a statistical thing. In terms of what he does, progressive carries, movement, getting past his man, the club probably like that a lot. That's why they've always looked at Garnacho. They probably think, that the manager can help to improve his finishing. That's the main thing that they've always said about him, right? At least from what they see from him. The problem for him is, again, the background stuff, which I don't think the club, the reason why the club's not going to go for him in regards to his brother, the stuff that he's been saying in person and stuff like that. There's no way I think Garnacho happens because of that. I think Garnacho only happens essentially if we miss out on a bunch of whatever the list they essentially have is, in my personal opinion. So then I'm going to see what happens in regards to that. But I really doubt that's going to happen in my personal opinion. Joao Pedro, I don't know about you, EP or Turk. I really think it's just his agent talk trying to push this. But the fact that Brighton and Newcastle are kind of already in talks and trying to get a deal done, for me, it seems to me, in my personal opinion, that he's basically set to go to Newcastle. because Newcastle already ahead of them, or ahead of us. LB cover, I think. Yeah, we're not getting Garnacho. They're all on the list. Fair enough. Petrovic is gone. We're getting a GK for sure. If it's a loan like Sancho, then whatever. Fair enough. Athletic, I think since you already trust them early today, these morning they said we're really going strong for Kudus shame. Yeah, well, listen, that's fair enough. But again, the reason why I'm using the Athletic in my personal opinion, yeah, is that again those guys don't say anything until the end. It's better to listen to guys that are going to tell you if it's done or not than not to, because there's too much, in my personal opinion, when it comes to transfer news. Too much dilly-dallying. Too much of like step-by-step process. I just need to know the end process, bro. At the end of the day, Garnacho can't do a pass even in tree. Fair enough. I don't think Garnacho happens, but I think they got Barnes though. They want a right winger. I have no idea about Mazza, but they are probably already in club-to-club talks. So that's all. Garnacho not happening their backup plan for Gittens. If it's about just running and kicking the ball in stands, then sign me out for free. Dang! If your time, bro. Chill, bro. Chill if your time. Why people acting like Kudus is a bad player? I don't think Kudus is a bad player, by the way. I just don't necessarily see the added value right now. No. It's possible, Lucas, but the problem is you already got another club ahead of you. That's the only thing. That's the only thing that's stopping them. That's gonna hurt, in my personal opinion, right? Because there's another club already ahead of you that's trying to make the agreement happen. They're trying to make the deal happen already. So right now, you're kind of in what I like to call you're kind of in like a dead zone, in my personal opinion, in regards to this. Yeah, but the thing is, Maru, I think with terms of shirt sponsors, again, they've got a little bit of time. They can probably just announce it end of July. They can probably announce it mid-July. They got a lot of time in that one to announce whenever that's gonna happen or not. What's it called? Can't we spend on free player experiences that can mix with young players to actually win something? That's Raj. You keep on repeating the same thing that I've spoken to you about before. That is not gonna happen, in my personal opinion. You need to know what type of club that we are right now and the way we act. The sooner you realize that, the less problems you're gonna have in life. I promise you, bro. Looks like Newcastle had of talk with Pedro. Happy with that. Yes, exactly. That's before. Mohamed Kudus remains on Chelsea radar. Yeah, it can be on the radar. That's fair enough. We'll see what happens in it. Joao Pedro is actually he wants to be in London for nightlife. Fair enough. And you know what? To be fair, man, the nightlife in Newcastle is just as good in my personal opinion. So I don't care what anyone says. The nightlife there's definitely good there too. I don't care what anyone says. Neto and Madueke will both be gone by next year. Fair enough. Sam McBall said Kudus deal would be a cash swap, likely with Rob Sanchez. All right, so let's see if that even happens, because we keep seeing that, but any outgoing news? Nothing yet. The outgoing news has been quite quiet, to be honest, which is very surprised. Which I'm very surprised by, my personal opinion, in terms of the outgoing issue, because I thought the outgoing issue would be a lot more, studious. We'd probably hear a lot more about that, in my personal opinion, but we've never heard about the outgoing issue at all, which is kind of shocking in my personal opinion, because I would have expected that sort of thing to be spoken about. The thing is, yeah, I saw if that's true. The thing is, if they want cash only. Oh, wait, what do you mean by that, big man? I'm not the London. Listen, your Ahmed, your nightlife is about Comic Con. Pedro's nightlife is about London nightclubs. And I can tell you that. Listen, I know about the nightclub nightlife very well. You know what I mean? Comic Con's in the day. It's not even in the night. You feel tough, man. Have some shame, bro. Have some decorum. You know what I mean? I know the nightlife very well, London. And I'll tell you this for free. London nightlife is great. But listen, Newcastle nightlife, man, it's quality too. You know what I mean? It's quality too. You know what I mean? Listen, he may not know that, but then listen, Newcastle nightlife's quality too, mate. I'll tell you that for free, pure tough, man. I know you're in the US, yeah, but I promise you, Newcastle nightlife it can be just as good as London nightlife, bro. I promise you that for free. We'll start ongoings later because any sales count as last season. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's probably be July in it. Yeah, Joao Pedro got so many red flags off the pitch. I'll be real. Yes, that is a good point too. He's got a lot of nah, yeah. Shame we got no Deadwood going to be tough and suitors, bro. The thing is, Mazza, I would probably I'd probably say in terms of Chelsea Deadwood, the guy that's going to be the hardest to sell, I've said this before, is realistically Sterling. And who's the other guy that I'm forgetting? Sterling. Chilwell, I actually don't think it's going to be as hard, in my personal opinion. But Sterling in particular, Rob Sanchez as well is going to be another one. Those two, if you are potentially going to try to sell them, they're going to always be the hardest for you to move on realistically for a number of easy reasons. So for me personally, listen, that's what I would probably say. Bigger Ahmed. Did you talk? No, yeah, I'm gonna get to that one too. I expect us to go for Morgan Rogers sometime in this window, even though he's not a natural winger, he's EPL proven and knows the system. And to be fair, if you are to believe the stuff that's been on Instagram, he's trying to, maybe he's giving a few hints on Instagram, eh? So bad. Fair enough. On top of that, Pedro, yes, that's a good point. That's stuff I totally forgot. He is super injury prone, bro. So, which is really annoying. Somerset nightlife shit. Somerset nightlife shit. By the way, fair enough. Nah, man. Listen, KDH knows Musk system. He can't start in his best position and can't play at left wing. Listen, I think so much of the transfer news, bro. We're just gonna have to wait and see. What is going on with my thingy right now? Apologies, man. KDH knows Musk system. He can't start in his best position and can't play left wing unless there's exactly. Rodgers, Palmer, Kudus would be overlapping at fullbacks with Cook. The thing is, again, is Maraski going to change the system? That's the one thing I continuously ask people, and I've yet to see that happen. I'm yet to see that happen, yet to be convinced. He's in a Club World Cup period where he has probably the right amount of time, in my personal opinion, to be doing that as well, and he's not. So again, that's something to think about. Also, Rodgers not being fit, not KDH law. Oh, sorry, my apologies. Wrong. I must have read it incorrectly. Then my apologies, mate. But listen, I think with KDH, it's gonna be a matter of I think KDH is probably gonna leave the club. So there's no point. There's no point of even discussing him. There's literally no point of even discussing him. So sadly, the game's the game. That's what I'm gonna probably put as that. But listen, let's actually go to the fixture list. I know Chelsea fixture list came out. You know what I mean? I don't understand why people get happy and angry about it, but I'm not really. Let's talk about our first 5 fixtures. Crystal Palace at home, West Ham, Fulham, Brentford, and Manchester United. So he's got a very good, probably very medium difficulty, I'd probably say, in terms of a fixture list. Right? So you got Crystal Palace, but first game with Europa League football behind them. West Ham, we're gonna have to see how they do. And the transfers as well. We're not at home. We got to make sure we get a revenge for that one, of course, at the end of the day, man. As well, because listen, they're big. Listen, we lost to them last time. As well, Brentford away. It's gonna be interesting to see, particularly whoever they get as their new manager as well. Be interested to see how they do there. And Manchester United away. Listen, maybe you can win that last. You know what I mean? If that's our 5th fixture, maybe you can win that last 11, and man, finally we can win that. You know what I mean? We can finally maybe win that at the end of the day, man. But I would like to hope so because finally, man, we can actually flip and win a flipping game at Old Trafford. Oh my god! I laughed when I saw United's first 5 fixtures. Cameron might be sacked within a month of the upcoming season. What is United's fixture list that bad, guys? Can someone tell me?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Yes, Steve, what is it then? Do you mind telling me what the fixture list is?
Let me check quickly.
Let me bring. Oh damn! I know they got Arsenal the first game of the season. I saw they got Arsenal the first game of the season, by the way. So that can never be good. I'll be honest. That can never be good, man. You know, having that. Oh yeah, I just got
They
the
have
easiest.
Arsenal first game, then Fulham, Burnley, Man City, Chelsea, which is the first 5, 6 games, I think. But if you look at Arsenal's one, it's even worse.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna get to Arsenal, but before I get to, I want to talk about our last 5 fixtures, which is this is last 6 fixtures for Chelsea. Somehow United have survived again in our fixture list, bro. I don't know how they keep doing it, but they keep doing it for us. Big up to United. Brighton away, Forest at home. Forest, can I just say, why do we keep on getting Forest here? Why do we keep on getting Forest here every single time? In like our last few fixtures. United and Forest here and Liverpool always have been on like our last few fixtures, bro. Like, what is going on? You know what I mean? What is in the what? Who is creating this year that every single time, bro, we keep on getting these sort of fixtures, bro, towards the end of the season, bro? It's like, what is going on? But Brighton, Forest, Liverpool, Spurs, and Sunderland. So yeah, man, interesting. Listen, that's a very tough end to the season. I've got to say that for sure right now, bro. That's a very tough end to the season. Yes, thank you, EPOTAF, for letting me know how to Google. My computer's not working properly. That's why I'm getting Zuba to do it for me. He's just my colleague. Byron Rodgers would be like repeating the Google Felix cycle. By a 10, it's profile them, then struggle and get hounded by the fans. Mariska benches them by Foucault, then get unsettled, go for crap. But you know what? I'll take to you, TKL, yeah? Let me ask you a question. Let's say if we do bring in Rodgers, right? The club does that. Then what I would probably argue then, if you bring in Rodgers 10, Palmer right, and then whoever's going to be on the left, I don't think you've then misprofiled him because then you let him play in his 10 role, you let him do his job. I think for me, that's probably the most successful that he can be. I'm just looking at something. Let me see that one. Not bad. I think a good 10 zip. You know what I mean? A good 10, 12 points end of the season. We're in the past where we played Sunderland last day and we won the league. Yeah, man, but let's see if we can do that again. But we move. But listen, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm just looking at everything else to see. But I think that's pretty much all of the transfer news for today. Unless there's something else I'm mistaken about, guys. Let me know if there's anything else I need to talk about. But I don't think there's any that much else to talk about in general. Again, I think in terms of like transfer news, it's not been that much to say really, because again, Chelsea's been quite quiet. We've been quite quiet, you know, and stuff like that. It's been quite a quiet fixture at the end of the day. So listen, we move indeed. But listen, you know who I've been. I've been the host of Most of Bridge Nation. Hope you all do well. Hope you've been quiet. Yeah, it's always been quiet, man. Yeah, and I think what's interesting me about the quietness is obviously yes, it's the opening day of the windows. It's only been open for like 3-4 days, but nothing's happened. It's been a very much a major lack of inactivity as well. But listen, maybe the club is taking their time. Maybe they want to go slow, and so we'll see what happens there. Now I know TKL, but I just brought that hypothetical up because that could also be an option that may be or may not happen. But listen, we're gonna end it here. I've been your host, the most Division Nation. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a wonderful day today. Big up, peace and blessings. And I think hopefully I'll be live tomorrow with some more news if it does come up. But as usual, you know, we're gonna be on the lookout. We're gonna be waiting. We're gonna be seeing what's happening or not. But listen, we don't know what's gonna happen. You know how the game is played. We'll see what happens. But listen, I've been your host, the most Division Nation. Hope you do well. Hope you're having a wonderful day today. Peace and blessings. And we are out. Tuchel out.